Well, after 6 years as chairman of GRDC, Keith Perrett is standing down. So we thought we'd catch up with Keith as well as the two managing directors he's worked with during his time in the chair.
Hi, I'm Keith Perrett from the Grains Research and Development Corporation.
Keith Perrett at home on his Liverpool Plains property. That was a couple of years ago when he'd already begun his second term as chairman of the board. That chairmanship started in 2007. At the time, Peter Redding was GRDC's managing director, and he recalls the incoming chairman had all the necessary attributes for the job.
Firstly, importantly, he was a grower, well known through agricultural political circles in his role of GCA, also well known in other areas of agriculture. So we said that was a positive tick for Keith. Secondly, he had very good networking skills, and importantly, characteristics for a chairman of GRDC was that you had the ability to drink red wine, and also smoke. And Keith followed in the true traditions of the chairman following Terry Enright with those characteristics.
It's colloquially Australian to be a little cheeky when sending someone off, and after 6 years as GRDC's chairman, Keith Perrett is standing down. Those who worked closely with the man have real admiration for all he's achieved and his leadership, especially when it came to implementation of the federal government's national RD&E strategy.
Some of the specific examples include the development and upgrade of the IA Watson Centre in Narrabri, which is truly now a world-class research and plant breeding facility which will play a very important role in the northern grain belt, which is critical to Australia. And more recently, the development of the AGIC facility in Western Australia, which is the primary state for wheat production in this country.
The launch of AGIC, the Australian Export Grains Innovation Centre, was the first major achievement of the national strategy and rates as a personal highlight for the retiring chairman. It also represents a substantial collaboration between the Western Australian Government and GRDC.
AGIC will be a vibrant hub of science, technology and innovation. We'll establish the world-class skills that we require and the capability in export grains innovation and industry development. This is a wonderful day for the Australian grains industry, especially here in WA. Congratulations to all those involved. Thank you.
Another on his highlight list is the start-up of the Australian Grains Gene Bank at Horsham, a partnership between GRDC and the Victorian Government. This facility will house invaluable germplasm collections containing Australian and international genetic material. Until now, these collections have been spread across the 3 eastern mainland states.
A real example of creating critical mass, reducing the duplication, fragmentation, and delivering better value to Australian grain growers, which is what's driven Keith right through his whole time at GRDC.
John Harvey has worked alongside the chairman since March 2011, and he believes Keith Perrett's strength of character and preparedness to embrace stewardship are due in part to the fact that he's a grain grower.
Absolutely, and that link to the land and that passion for growing crops and turning nothing into something is a part of Keith's DNA, and I'm sure that drives his passion.
The national RD&E strategy was not the only thing to produce highlights for Keith Perrett during his 6 years as chairman. Improving grain grower engagement and providing tangible research outcomes were achievements regarded as being amongst the chairman's most satisfying.
Certainly the increased focus on grower relationships will be a legacy. I think to see the national RD&E strategy not only go from a concept but to actually be implemented and been implemented, but some of the examples we've talked about are ongoing legacies. And also the whole changing R&D environment from a sort of more public research to a much more commercially focused driven corporation, and the benefits that will bring longer term are all legacies which Keith will be very rightly proud of these achievements.
He's also proud of the people who are the human element of GRDC.
It's got some great strengths. It's got a wonderful staff, a very committed staff that work extremely hard. They don't roll up each day just to go to work. They roll up each day to make a difference to Australian grain growers and contribute to the Australian grains industry overall.
A respect that Managing Director John Harvey says flows both ways.
I'm sure when staff look at the board and particularly look at Keith, and I know this for a fact, they do see the leadership, they do see his vision and they buy into it and they believe in it. and I think it does drive the organisation, and that's important when you're trying to make change.
For someone who's been actively involved in grains industry leadership for most of his working life, there's more in store for GRDC's retiring chairman. For the next little while, though, it'll be growing grain.
As a grain grower and chairman of GRDC, as I'm stepping down now, mixed emotions, but I'm very happy with GRDC. I think it's a very dynamic organisation now. Its focus is clearly on growers and delivering to growers. So to be able to step down at a time like that when the organisation that you've chaired for a while is in such a healthy state, it's very pleasing.
In the next episode of Ground Cover TV, we'll bring you an interview with the new chairman.